This is Open Line.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to News Channel 5 Plus. You are in for a treat tonight because tonight is Ask the Attorney with none other than Kevin Kennedy himself with Kennedy Law Firm. We're so happy to have you here. I mean, you're a regular guest here on News Channel 5 Plus, and it's just the phones light up, and we're so happy to see you.
You were always so complimentary. You know, when they said you were going to be hosting tonight, I said, well, that's great. We always have worked well together.
We do.
From the very first time that we met, it was great. We've had some great times.
And we're going to have some great times tonight, and of course we always want to remind you what tonight's show is all about. This is free advice from the legal expert himself. The number's right there on your screen. We want to hear from you, stories, questions, anything you want to share tonight. Kevin will take it away.
Yeah, you know, the truth is, Casey, everybody's confronted with some kind of legal problem all the time. And you say, well, I really don't have one. It kind of reminds me what the preacher said. He said there's three kinds of people. Those are going through a problem, those are coming out of a problem, or those that are about to go into it. And so, you know, we're confronted all the time with legal questions. So tonight, we're glad to answer your questions, give you some peace of mind. I had somebody stop me and said, Kevin, I asked you a question on Open Line. They were way out of county, and they called the office, and they said, I slept so much better. And I said, well, you made me feel good because we love to share and give some people some peace of mind, give you a little direction, and there's power in knowledge. So tonight, if they've got questions, let them call, and we'll do our best to answer you and help.
You know, it's summertime. I wanted to ask you, what's one of the biggest questions you really receive this time of year?
Oh, man. Everybody always talks about swimming pool liability.
It's a good one.
So, you know, I represent several big corporations that handle apartments. And so they say, well, Kev, do we have to have a lifeguard all the time? And then the other complex, they say, Kevin, can I let them have a swimming pool at this rental house? Because, you know, and you know, the law, different counties, different laws need a fence, got to be secure. One thing that we can be assured of, if someone drowns in that pool and me and you own the property, hello, come in, somebody's going to make a claim against the owners. And they'll probably make a claim against the leaseors of that property. So every time we have any kind of fun or recreation, please consider that, get an extra insurance policy to help cover those. I don't want anyone to miss out on fun. I just want you to use your best judgment, and because if they have a problem, you bought the problem.
That's right. We're going to be getting all kinds of questions tonight. In fact, Kevin, we've already got our first call. This is how it works when you're here. They light up when he's here. All right, first up, let's see here. Oh, maybe we lost him there. Let me hit that one more time. What's your question this evening? Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. What would you like to ask Kevin?
Yes, I am retired. I am widowed. I need to do a durable power of attorney.
Okay.
And I don't know whether to, does it make sense to give durable power of attorney to both of my children or just one of them?
Great question. I love it. I appreciate that question. The truth is, you need to give it to the person you trust. You know, I represent one of the wealthiest women in Montgomery County. This has been 10 years ago. Plenty of money. And we gave a lot of money to churches and charities. And I said, well, are you ready to give some more of this away? And she said, Kevin, I just can't trust these. And so it's so profound that I thought about, you could give one to each child, because sometimes one's closer to you. If you totally trusted your children and someone had to make a decision, they could drive in and use it. Let me make another point about a durable power of attorney. Everybody really needs one. If you have a car wreck, if you have a stroke, if you have a misunderstanding, you got to fly out and somebody's got the kids. The truth is, you can do a whole lot with a durable power of attorney. And the difference between a regular power of attorney and a durable, should I have a stroke and become mentally incapacitated, then during that time, someone, Casey, could write checks, operate, get money out. Otherwise, we're shut down. You say, hey, he's got plenty of money, but we can't get it out of the bank, because you didn't listen to Benjamin Franklin. He said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I totally recommend it. We do it all the time. I'll take one more diversion. There's also a power of attorney called a medical power of attorney. Some hospitals will not accept just a durable. So then, and some people, well, I don't feel comfortable letting them have access to all my finances, but I do feel comfortable make a decision medically, because they can say, hey, if we do this, it's a 90% chance that they may not make it, but we've got to make a decision in the next 20 minutes. And I get those kinds of phone calls, and that's why I love telling the public, do the medical power of attorney, do the durable power of attorney, and you've done your family a great service.
Great question. All right, great question to kick off the show, and now we have Tony on line 2. Hi, Tony. Thanks for calling.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I have a service dog that was prescribed to me.
Well, we love the service. Thank you for your service, sir. And I'll state that anywhere. We really appreciate all the servicemen. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you, sir. I've been going to this church for over a year, and my fiance is a member there. And so I get my service dog, and they have a coffee break room downstairs open on Fridays for people to come to.
Yes.
And so I took my dog to the coffee break. My dog didn't cause no problems, did everything according like it's supposed to. And one of the guys that was running the coffee break ran up to me and said, I demand that you show me service dog papers now, and I demand also that you tell me what your disability is, or else you ain't going to come in with the dog. Well, those are 2 federal laws that he violated. It's my business what my handicap is.
Yes, let me just address that. First off, yes, you have certain legal rights when you have these dogs. I'm disappointed that that person at the church, whether they were in leadership or not, conducted themselves in that manner, and that was highly inappropriate, and we'll state that. I'm also always reluctant to have people try to sue a church or sue a pastor because they do so much good. Sometimes I overlook some of the things because their intentions may have been well. You know, the truth of the matter is, if you're in that same situation, you can carry your dog, you can go into businesses, and they're going to have to allow you to do that. If you weren't, and you didn't have to have the disability dog with you, then they have the right to tell you not to bring the dog into their business or their restaurant or whatever. But thank you, sir, for your service, and we salute you. When I saw that, I thought about this big American flag I got on my cup. It was a veteran that went and had this made for me because I love the military. We're right outside Fort Campbell, the 101st, world famous, and so it touches my heart every time I get to hear one, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to speak to you, sir. Definitely.
I think you make a point to say that just about every time you're on. That's wonderful. We do appreciate the call. Thanks so much, Tony, for that. We have several calls coming in. Just want to make sure you guys know, hold on, and we'll be sure to get to all of you. This is great advice from the legal expert himself. I believe we have David on line 3. Hi, David. Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, David, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I got a problem with the SunTrust Bank a little bit.
All right, hit it.
Well, I got in trouble when everything fell through in Nashville, when we all went belly up, everybody. Yes. And I got behind on payments. But I made my payments up, and they gave me a note for 72 months. I paid it. I couldn't miss a payment. I never did miss another payment.
Good.
But when it got to the end of that, they said I owed $14,000 more.
Come on now. All right, I'll tell you what happened, and you can easily say, hey, Kevin, I got hoodooed. I said, what do you mean? So what they've done, they redid your note, and they put it on a note called a balloon note, where, you know, if we owe $50,000 and we can't make our payments, so we'll reduce those payments. So they rework the note, and you sign it, and you say, hey, okay, 72 months, I'll pay $500 a month, and we do it. And so many people think that's over, but when it gets to the last payment, there's the balloon, and there's still $21,000 owed, so you have to refinance that again. So you're not the only person that has ever been confronted. So here's the lesson we take away from your situation. Have someone with you. Why do I have someone with me? So that they can hear it, so there's no misunderstanding. A good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. So what I would say is, now, does this completely pay it out? And he'll say, yes. I'll trust that banker. I said, show me on here complete payout, 72. You know, sometimes I do this to other lawyers, and they say, Kevin, you can't put all. I said, well, then just appease me and put it in. I have the unique ability, when there's several lawyers in a situation, I'll get my assistant to read. And I'm one of the few that can comprehend reading it and hearing it. Many of them have to read it privately to comprehend. So that was just another skill that I had, and sometimes other lawyers get embarrassed and they don't want to say, hey, I can't catch that. So I said, let's roll, get through it. But the same technique would be applicable for your banker. And just say, I just want a good understanding. 50 months, are we paid out $500 a month? If you don't, then they misrepresented to you, and then you could always file a complaint with the Banking Association, Commissioner of Banking, State of Tennessee.
All right, let's get to the next call. Hi there, what's your question for us tonight? Thanks for calling in.
Is this for Taylor?
This is Mr. Kennedy. Go right ahead.
Okay, good. I've got something that has bothered me for 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
I had a relative that was criminally assaulted and wound up going to a parole board hearing for the defendant in the case.
All right.
And first of all, I thought they had let him have a hearing at a ridiculously short period of time. But
come on.
Story. But my point is, there was either only 1 or 2 members there, and one of them indicated, well, I've gone over the records and
yes.
this, that, and the other, and so they granted parole. But my question is it public access to know what the letters was, what recommendations and so forth that came in on that case that would help them make the decision?
I think what you could do is file one of those Freedom of Information things, and I think you probably could get access to it. Also, you know, people say, Kevin, I can't get this, they won't honor it. You can file a little lawsuit in General Sessions, issue a subpoena. They call it a subpoena ducis tecum. Serve it on them, and they got to come and they've got to bring all those documents and lay them out here. They'll either have to bring them or they'll have to have a lawyer file a motion to quash, and the judge would get to hear both sides' arguments. We think we're entitled to it. We'd like to know this. You know, what you're talking about, the power has the state. Remember, our laws originated from England, out of the common law, where the king was supreme. And they used to say you can't sue the king. It's a governmental tort liability. Can't sue the king because, so really what you're getting into on these paroles, these are agencies from the king. And so, but when there's a will, there's a way. And if I was really insistent, and you know, when you're shocked, we hear people all the time with that same scenario, they're shocked because they're letting someone out early that they thought should have served more time. So thank you for your interest. I hope we've helped some others. Just pursue it. That vigilance pursuit will always make a difference. Thank you.
All right, we'll get to the next call. Hi there, what's your question tonight? I believe we have Robert on line 6. Can you hear us, Robert?
Robert, hey.
Hi, Robert. What's your question for us tonight? It's got a problem. Oh, no. That happens. Allergy season.
My throat is kind of messed up.
We're there with you. Go ahead, Robert.
My sister, a sister of mine, got a power of attorney and a living trust on an uncle of mine, which is dead now.
Okay.
He has no wife, no children, no kids, no nothing. So, the living trust was made herself the beneficiary.
Okay.
Does that sound like something wrong there?
Well, the first thing, people in their right mind have a right to make any kind of disposition of their property that they choose as long as they have the right mind. If a relative, and it happens all the time, a niece or a nephew go to their uncle and say, hey, let's go get these papers, let me be the power of attorney, let me draw the will, leave me as the beneficiary. They do that, and that's legal. Now, if they used undue influence or they used duress, meaning you're going to do this, and they pressure them beyond their voluntary will, then that's the prime case of a will contest, where one child goes and has the whole farm in the will to them. Somebody can say, no, wait a minute. We represent a sister, and we don't think that's right, and we're going to file a will contest. We'll sue them, and we'll just lay it out in front of the judge. My dad said 1,000 times he wanted both of us to share the farm. and he wasn't in his right mind or he was on medication. You know, you can hear the lawyer now. What's the scenario? All we have to know is the general theory. If he didn't have his right mind, then we'll attack it, break it, and then that way you could divide it up. What happens lots of times, many times, a letter from a lawyer said, look, we don't think this is right. If you don't split this with us, we'll bring a lawsuit, and then it'll be a lot of legal expense and litigation. And so that's when two reasonable minds meet and they compromise. It was Benjamin Franklin again said, a lean compromise is always better than a fat lawsuit.
The man with many quotes. That's why we love having Kevin Kennedy on here.
I like these quotes because they're so true.
They are. They're very useful. That's why we have the phones lighting up tonight. We appreciate you calling us. We're going to get to several more of your calls. We're going to take a quick break, but keep it right here. We'll have more Ask the Attorney coming up. News Channel 5 Plus.